I thought I understood boredom. Before the Zenith, a court assigned me to the diplomatic vessel Aurora's Reach. Boredom was something I associated with long elevator rides or waiting rooms back on Earth. I learned quickly that space boredom was different. It was vast, slow, and oppressive, stretching across weeks of silent starfields and rehearsed politeness. Especially when your job was to stand quietly behind ambassadors and not cause interstellar incidents. Which, in hindsight, makes what I did even worse. The Aurora's Reach was on its way to the Nyxera system, home of the Ketheri, a species older than most human civilizations and ruled by a single sovereign, Queen Zyrith the Eternal. The Ketheri were not hostile, but they were precise. Their culture revolved around ritual, symbolism, and layers of meaning that could turn a simple gesture into a declaration of war. I knew all of this. We'd been briefed endlessly. But none of the briefings prepared me for how surreal it would feel to walk through the obsidian halls of the Ketheri capital, where gravity hummed slightly offbeat and bioluminescent glyphs crawled across the walls like living hieroglyphs. Or to stand in the throne chamber itself, a cavernous space shaped like an inverted cathedral, with a dais grown, not built, from crystallized organic matter. And at the center of it all sat Queen Zyrith. She was nothing like the monsters of old sci-fi Hollywood's. Tall, elegant, her form vaguely humanoid but elongated, as if evolution had been more patient with her species. Her skin shimmered between shades of deep violet and silver, and her eyes, 3 of them, reflected light like polished mirrors. She wore a circlet of living metal that shifted subtly, responding to her neural patterns. She was terrifying, and, if I'm being honest, intimidating enough to make the whole situation feel unreal. The talks went well at first. Trade routes, scientific cooperation, shared exploration zones. The diplomats smiled. The translators hummed. Everyone followed protocol. Everyone except me. I was stationed near the rear of the chamber, monitoring environmental readings and neural resonance levels, standard precaution when dealing with high-order psionic species. The Ketheri communicated partially through subtle energy fields, and any imbalance could mean discomfort or offense. That's when I noticed it. Floating just behind the Queen's throne was a small, translucent creature, no bigger than a human cat, shaped like a jellyfish made of starlight. It bobbed gently in the air, occasionally shifting colors. According to my data feed, it was a Thren, a symbiotic organism bonded to the Queen. A living emotional amplifier and translator of sorts. And it looked adorable. It would puff up slightly whenever someone spoke, then deflate again. At one point, when an ambassador cleared his throat nervously, the Thren changed color to a soft pink and wiggled. I snorted before I could stop myself. No one noticed. Good. An idea formed. A stupid, harmless idea. Earlier that week, one of the engineers had shown me a novelty device, a micro-hollow emitter capable of projecting tiny, harmless illusions, mostly used to entertain bored crew members. I still had it in my pocket. I told myself it was fine. Just a small prank. Something only I'd notice. A private joke to break the tension. When the Queen turned her attention fully to the lead ambassador, I activated the emitter and projected a faint illusion right next to the Thren, a tiny, glowing crown hovering above it. The Thren froze. Then it pulsed. The room went silent, not gradually, but instantly, like someone had pulled the sound out of the air. The bioluminescent glyphs on the walls dimmed. The Queen stopped mid-sentence. Slowly, all 3 of her eyes turned toward me. The Thren's color shifted violently, from pink to deep crimson. I felt a pressure behind my eyes, like invisible hands pressing inward. Queen Zyrith rose from her throne. Every Ketheri in the chamber dropped to one knee in perfect unison. My stomach dropped. "You have marked the voice," she said, her voice echoing not just in sound, but directly in my mind. "Do you understand what you have done?" I swallowed hard. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. It was just a joke." The word joke rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. The thren let out a sound, not audible, but emotional. Alarm. Shock. Something like offense. The queen descended the dais, each step deliberate. The pressure in my head intensified until my vision blurred. "Among my people," she said, "nothing that touches the voice is harmless." Guards moved instantly, their organic weapons unfolding like living nightmares. I was restrained before I could even raise my hands. The ambassadors shouted protests, explanations, pleas. The queen raised one hand, and silence returned. "He will not be executed," she said. "Not yet." That somehow felt worse. I was taken beneath the palace into a chamber that felt ancient beyond measure. The walls were etched with the history of Cathari queens, each carving subtly different, marking eras that spanned tens of thousands of years. The queen stood across from me, the thren hovering protectively at her side. Selkith, her chief advisor, explained my crime. The thren was not merely a companion. It was the voice of continuity, a living conduit connecting the queen to every queen before her. By symbolically crowning it, I had enacted an ancient ritual reserved for succession. "In essence," Selkith said, "you have declared the voice awakened." "And?" I asked weakly. "And the awakening requires a catalyst." Queen Zyratha's gaze bored into me. "You." I spent the next cycle undergoing what the Cathari called resonance alignment. It was not torture. It was worse. They connected my neural patterns to the thren, forcing my mind into contact with a lineage of alien consciousness stretching back to the dawn of their civilization. I felt wars fought under alien suns, civilizations rising and falling, the unbearable weight of ruling not years, but eras. I screamed. I begged. I nearly broke. Through it all, the queen watched, not cruelly, but intently. "You sought to make light of us," she said during one session. "Now you will understand us." Something changed in me during those trials. Not enlightenment. Not acceptance. Perspective. I realized the queen was tired. Immortal in practice, if not in fact, burdened by centuries of memory, responsible for a people who saw her not as a person, but as permanence itself. The thren was her anchor and her chain. During the final alignment, the thren floated toward me, its light steady now, calm. The queen spoke softly. "The voice responds to you." "I don't want this," I said. "I never did." "Nor did I once," she replied. The punishment, it turned out, was not death. It was responsibility. I was named the outsider witness, a living bridge between human and Cathari consciousness. My prank had altered the thren's resonance permanently. Removing me from the equation would destabilize it. I was bound to remain in the Nixera system, not a prisoner, not exactly, an advisor, a listener, someone who could perceive the queen's burden and translate it into terms others might understand. The galaxy reacted predictably. Protests, panic, political maneuvering. Humans were uneasy about one of their own becoming entwined with an alien monarchy. But the bond held. Over time, I learned to sit beside the queen in silence, sharing thoughts without words. I learned when to speak and, more importantly, when not to. The thren grew brighter. Years passed.